college football is shifting. It's inevitable. Somebody's got to change conferences again soon, right? Because the ACC's wanting to fall apart. ACC and Clemson, or FSU and Clemson, wanting out. What's going to happen to Miami, Pitt, North Carolina, Georgia Tech, all these teams in the ACC? What will happen if Florida State and Clemson do get out, go to the SEC or Big Ten? We're going to have some great guests for you tonight. We'll have a representative from Miami, Georgia Tech, and Pitt coming in with us. And also Shane's in the back room. How about that? We'll be right back. Well, welcome into Big 12 football at the Voice of College Football. We don't normally stream this show anymore on the Big 12 channel, but I'm streaming this show tonight on the Big 12 channel, as well as the West Virginia channel. And so, welcome in, everyone. Shane, what's going on, brother? How's been your day?
I missed this channel. This is a good channel. It's been a good day. I think you're right. In today's topic and today's show is right on par with what is tracking and trending as far as podcasters and news folks. I think it's very, very right on target with what I've heard, and I'm very excited to talk to ACC fans to hear what they have to say on the prospect of maybe coming to the Big 12, or if they think their school is going to jump into the Big 10 or the SEC.
So we've all seen it. I mean, it's all over the place. And you know me, I don't like to speculate. I don't like to go into speculation on these conference realignments and teams moving conferences because it's not likely that anybody's going to know before it even happens, right? They're just going to come out of the blue and boom, this has happened. And generally not anything that any of us are reporting on what happened, right? That's kind of how it's been. I mean, but one thing about it is we're pretty sure that Clemson and Florida State are eventually going to get out of the ACC. Either that or the ACC is going to pay them a lot of money. And what's the rest of the team's going to do when they get more money? So, but we got some great guests coming in tonight. Representing the ACC, we've got Talkus Pitt from Pitt. We have Georgia Tech fan C-Dog Morgan, who has a channel, C-Dog. And we have Slim Shady Canes from Miami, who does our post-game shows for us here on the Voice of College Football after Miami football. And is also a regular over on the Miami channel here at the Voice of College Football. But right now in the back room, I've got a good friend of mine, Talkus Pitt. What's going on, Pitt?
Hey, everyone. How's everybody doing?
Man, I'm fired up, ready to go. I'm going to talk about something, though, because I seen an article today, Talkus Pitt, that said, and who was it? I'm thinking maybe it was on 3 or 247. I read this article, and it said that it said that Pitt would most likely not get into the SEC or Big Ten, and it went on to say something about most likely maybe not even the Big 12, and I don't understand that, but you tell me, what do you think?
I know Pitt hasn't been the brand that it used to be back in the 60s through the 80s. But I think due to their past history and the fact that even though they don't do good, they seem to do their best when they're playing teams that they have no business beating, like numerous upsets over the past few years, teams we shouldn't have beaten, Louisville, Clemson, among other squads. So I think that should be enough to get them somewhere. Now, the Big Ten is going to be the biggest problem for us. And it's not because I don't think the Big Ten wouldn't want us. I think wholeheartedly Penn State would fight tooth and nail to keep us out of the Big Ten, which is why we're even in the ACC to begin with. Right. As far as not going to the Big 12 Commission or the board of directors, whoever runs that conference, would be stupid to not put us in the Big 12. I mean, you're talking about half those teams are our natural rivals.
Right.
UCF, West Virginia, the biggest one, Cincinnati. Not really much of a rivalry, but we have history with Cincinnati because in the Big East, every time we played for a conference title, it was usually against them, against Cincinnati. So there's history with that. And plus, I guess since the ACC's demise is obviously, I don't want to say it's near, but it's near. There's a good chance that when Florida State, Clemson, Miami, or to be honest, I think as soon as one team leaves, ACC's done. Because then everybody else is going to find, ways to get out of the ACC and whatnot. But I just don't see Pitt not having a home. That just doesn't make sense. I just don't see that.
Do you
Whoever
remember?
said
Do you
that?
remember back about I guess it's been close to 6, 8 months ago now. 7 teams out of the big ACC. 7 teams got together and met up and stuff. And everybody felt like, ooh, one more and this conference would dissolve. If one more got on board with that, because it only takes 8, right, to dissolve the ACC.
I think it takes
But
7.
but Pitt wasn't one of Pitt wasn't one of those teams in there. And I was like, if I was Pitt, that would be a meeting I would want to be in. I'd want to talk about this because, hey,
Yeah.
Pitt don't have a lot of options here. If
No.
Miami, Florida State, Clemson leave, Pitt don't have a lot of options. They're they need to be on the ball right now, and maybe that's why they didn't go to the meeting. Maybe they don't want the AC to dissolve because maybe they see the writing on the wall. I mean, I think the Big 12 would take them. Don't get me wrong, but it ain't where Pitt wants to be.
Yeah.
Pitt wants to be in the
Yeah.
Big 10 or SEC just like everybody else, right? So, but I think the Big 12 would take them. But I'm looking at schools and going, okay, there's a lot of schools in the ACC, and if you take out
Yeah.
Florida State, Clemson, let's say they go to SEC or Big 10, and then maybe they take North Carolina and I don't know some other team out to make it even. But then that leaves teams like Virginia Tech, Pitt, Miami, all these teams, Boston College, Georgia Tech. Where do they go? Well, the Big 12 is not going to take them all, obviously. So they're going to take
No.
right? They're going to take Miami to start with, probably. That would be the biggest. Louisville.
Yeah, that's the biggest money.
What if they only take 2? But if they take 3, which one would they take? Virginia Tech or Pitt? Or if they take 4, would Pitt still even get in over NC State? So I worry, and even Georgia Tech.
The
Georgia Tech's a
problem
great
Pitt
program.
has is the problem Pitt has that it's a private school. Not that that's bad. It's just that's not. I don't think they fit in the SEC puzzle. If the Big Ten, I could see them fitting absolutely into the Big Ten.
Agreed. Agreed.
Now Big Ten is I mean, it just makes sense. I mean, if Maryland can transition in there, why the hell can't Pitt? The problem is, and we're learning this with Clemson. Clemson was not making any money 10, 15 years ago. Like when West Virginia blew them out and there was the roadside 70 to whatever,
Yeah.
They were just an afterthought. They were a bump there, and it's a bump in the road school on a highway on the way to, in South Cadillac on the way to Atlanta. And if you stop there, it's a beautiful area. That lake there, it's just beautiful, but it's just a small little town. I don't see it being any different than, say, like a Oregon State Corvallis. At least Oregon State is a public school, but Pitt is a research juggernaut. They have lots of funding for research. They have the academics are just, the medical school, all that. But when push comes to shove, that mattered more 10, 15 years ago. The past 5 years, it's what have you done lately? What's your attendance? What's your revenue? The fact that Pitt's getting a practice facility is big time. That helps them out a lot, I think. You might think it's not a big deal, but it makes them appear more like a college program.
Yeah,
I remember the old Pitt Stadium. The fact that they're playing at Actor Shore Stadium does not help them at all. You look at the Big
No.
12 teams. Baylor built I don't know, was it $2 billion stadium a few years ago? That puts Pitt, okay, at the 4, 5, 6 spot, depending on who's looking at it. And it's terrible. I want Pitt on there. I want Pitt in the Big 12. I want to play Pitt every year. I want to be able to drive to Pittsburgh, drive to Morgantown, see that game year in and year out. And it's a shame that that's not happening.
We got one more. We got one more. I'm gonna bring it in the back room right now.
Okay.
And this is another robbery of West Virginia and stuff. I mean, we've had our fierce battles with these guys. Slim Shady Canes representing Miami. What's going on, Slim Shady? How you doing, brother?
I'm good. Sorry, I got hung up a little bit trying to get the kids fed real quick.
Oh,
no, perfect timing.
We were just sitting here talking. We was talking about Pitt, and what they would do if Florida State and Clemson left, because Pitt might be one of those teams that could be left out. I think Miami's safe though. What are you hearing, Slim Shady, about Miami and the Big 12? Because we see it everywhere. But you know probably more than anybody. What's going on?
I mean, I'm hearing and seeing a lot of the same things y'all are. Now, publicly, Miami's saying what they, should be saying. They support the ACC, yada, yada, yada. But that doesn't mean that they're not looking behind the scenes. And I actually think they probably wouldn't be doing their jobs if they weren't. Now, that being said, there's pros and cons to whatever decision you make. And me personally, I think there's a whole lot more pros to being the big fish in a small pond.
Right.
And not moving anywhere.
I've always liked the rivalry between West Virginia and Pitt, obviously, but the rivalry that West Virginia and Miami had, bringing that back kind of puts excitement in the air around West Virginia. I'll tell you right now. But in the same sense, I look at Miami and I think everybody's talking about FSU going to the Big Ten, but FSU is not AAU. They do not have AAU, but Miami does. After this past year, you and Notre Dame both got it.
Yeah, I noticed that
I looked
too.
at writing on the wall when that happened. I thought, man, if Miami's getting AAU before Florida State, I think Miami might be the team the Big Ten's going to be taking. But then again, everybody's talking about Florida State. I don't know about that myself, but I think Florida State would fit in the SEC. So you guys might end up in the Big Ten after all, in my opinion. But I know everybody's talking about Big 12 right now, so that's why we decided to talk about Big 12. But personally, I really believe Miami's going to end up in the Big Ten with probably UNC, and I think Florida State and Clemson end up in the SEC. And then that would leave everybody else for Big 12 to pick and choose from. And I think they would take a Pitt for sure then, and Virginia Tech, probably an NC State, and a Georgia Tech. That would be my guess.
Well, and it wouldn't surprise me if either one of those happened. It really wouldn't. But I think a lot of people are also working under the assumption that it's a foregone conclusion that the ACC's days are numbered, and I'm not sure that that's so. Especially just adding 3 other teams, it's as if, to me, it's not a coincidence that they add 3 teams and then almost immediately you get some noise from a couple about leaving as if they knew this was coming.
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean the ACC will keep the status that it is. That they may even lose, an automatic bid to the playoffs at some point. I don't know. But I'm not sure it's so much a foregone conclusion that their days are numbered as some people are trying to make it out to be.
I just don't know if there's enough teams. If Florida State and Clemson leave, I don't know if there's enough teams there to make it a successful conference. I don't know that SMU and Cal brought anything to the table for you, honestly.
Well, Cal, yes. Stanford does, believe it or not. And I think SMU brings a whole lot more money than what people think, because I realize not everybody remembers this, but I'm just barely old enough, and I know Joey's old enough to remember when SMU was a dominant program in college football.
Yeah, till the Gold Trans Am.
Yeah.
So I mean, and you see this, and I bring this up constantly. there is a cyclical nature to college football. Those who come up go down. Those who are down come back up. Now, timelines vary, but it always happens.
And LW is taking up for me. He says Joey is only 32. So.
Yeah. Well, here's my problem with the ACC and Big 12. Okay, I'm not just going to crap on the ACC. I'm going to crap on the Big 12. I think what's happened, this is my opinion. We have two big cruise ships, Big 10 and SEC. And the Big 12 just happens to be the biggest life raft right now. Those ships are pulling out farther and farther. The gap is getting bigger and bigger year in and year out by, what the SEC is getting paid versus the Big 12 and the ACC. When this contract's up for renegotiation, ESPN's going to lowball the ACC. The ACC's, lifeline is right now tied with ESPN's, how that's negotiated. If the negotiations go well, the ACC might survive, but gradually it's going to be the haves and the have-nots if it isn't already, and it's the Big 10 and the SEC and then everybody else. Right now, they're blessed, the ACC and the Big 12, to have those buy-ins, but I foresee, unless, Miami has a stellar year, which I hope that happens. They have a blowout banger year like 2001, 2000. And then there'll be a seismic shift. For the Big 12, I hope Utah or West Virginia or Kansas State has a fantastic run into the playoffs and makes a national championship. That's the best thing for the ACC and the Big 12, is one of those two programs in those two conferences showing up and showing out, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion.
Well,
Now,
and I agree with. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, that's all right. I was just going to tell you, and you can start talking after that. But I was just going to show you, see if you guys have seen this. Talkers Pit and Slim Shady. Have you guys seen the proposed Super League division? So they have the Northeast, the Boston College, Maryland, Notre Dame, Penn State, Pittsburgh, Rutgers, Syracuse, Virginia Tech, and West Virginia. Where did they put Miami on this? I don't know where they put Miami in this. Oh, over here. No, that's Miami of Ohio. They're in
the Southeast.
Southeast
Yeah,
is Miami.
Southeast,
Yeah. Okay. So now this isn't going to happen. There's no way this Super League happens. In my opinion,
I would love it to happen.
SEC and Big 10 are not going to go for this. I know West Virginia's pushed forward. I know Gordon Gee is at West Virginia. I know a lot of the ACC, presidents are, and Big 12 presidents. I just don't see this happening. I see the SEC and Big 10 saying a big no to that. But I'm sorry, Slim Shady. Go ahead. I just wanted to pull that up.
Fine. I'm glad he brought up ESPN, because to me, all of this runs through Fox and ESPN, every bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I have a problem. I actually think ESPN and the ACC are not going to let Clemson and Florida State out without a hell of a fight.
Yeah, I agree.
As much as Big Ten news you're hearing about them going over there, I'm hearing just as much about them going to the SEC. Now, with ESPN being involved, why would ESPN want to pay Clemson and Florida State more money in the SEC where they can keep them in the ACC and pay them less money?
True. Very true.
Although, and on top of that, ESPN, they're not wanting to let the ACC go because they fronted millions to start up the ACC network. And I guarantee they haven't seen a return on that investment yet.
No, there's no way.
Nope.
There's no way they've seen a return on that investment. I look at it this way, though.
ACC network.
If they take Clemson and FSU and put them in the SEC, and I don't know that they would necessarily have to pay them more money right now. Obviously, they just rewrote the contract, and I don't know what they put in the contract for the SEC about adding teams and how much they would make. I know in the Big 12, if you add a power team, it's automatic $20 million more a year and can be adjusted. If you add somebody that's not a power team, it's nothing. You get absolutely no extra. So if we was to add Memphis, everybody's hollering Big 12 should add Memphis. If Big 12 added Memphis, there would be no money for Memphis because they're a group of 5. But if they was to add Miami or Pitt or somebody, there's an automatic 20 million plus.
Yep.
Then they go in and negotiate for extra money. So
Right.
that's the thing about that. I don't know what the SEC guaranteed funds are for bringing in a power team. I'm sure it's a lot more than 20 million like it is in the Big 12.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, I think all that runs through the networks, and I would imagine the networks, regardless of conference, are probably keeping that kind of number around the same.
So now, does Miami or Pitt? Is either one of you guys got to travel out to California this year? Or
Miami does.
Anybody?
Miami goes to Cal.
Goes to Cal.
No, Cal comes here.
You get Cal at home.
Yeah, we get Cal at home. We don't play Stanford this year, but we have to travel down to Dallas.
Well, everybody always talked about when West Virginia joined the Big 12. They said, "Boy, they're just completely, out of their position there because they should be in the ACC or Big 10, not over in the Big 12." And for a long time, we were the team that had to travel the furthest in the country, right, for 10, 12 years now. But now that Cal's come in, it looks like Stanford's going to be traveling more than anybody. Think about it. I mean, when they go on a road game, I mean, they got to go from across the country. That's going to be tough for Cal.
Well, I mean, look at Miami having to go to Cal. That's literally as far east to west as you can go.
Yeah, it really is. I don't. So you're talking about these conferences being out of position, and I know they say, well, a plane ride's a plane ride. I don't think so. It hurt West Virginia, and I think Shane will attest to that. It hurt West Virginia to go into Big 12.
I travel to Oregon a lot. I travel to Oregon a lot, and I go to Corvallis, and I go to Eugene, and I have to go into Portland, and there's usually more, half the time I have to take either on the trip out or trip back a connecting flight, and I am 6 foot 220. I am not 6'3", 250 or 6'5", 300 pounds. Those poor young men have to endure, being on that plane, traveling how many times. I honestly can say, my opinion, West Virginia probably loses one game due to fatigue or travel a year. I think it's just not fair. I would rather see what we saw on the sheet with the regional play. That's what the old hats like me and Joey and probably you guys would like to see. But the young folks want to see. They want to see California play, NC State. They want to see Miami play, Oregon. They want to see like these regional teams play each other on like a Thursday night, and it just blows my mind that that's what the direction we're going. But I digress. I apologize, but no, I think the travel is we're failing the student athletes, and it's not a benefit. I don't want to stay up until 12 o'clock and watch college football when I have to work the next day. But
I agree.
Quick shout out to the chat. I see all you guys typing out there and stuff. We appreciate all of you being here. Go ahead, Tom.
It's honestly, I can understand the ACC grabbing what's left out there as far as group of 5 teams. I mean, not group of 5, Power 5 teams. I understand that because they're not just going to, like you guys said, they're not just going to sit on their butt and wait for Clemson and Miami for this to blow over, or for Clemson, Miami, whoever else to bow down, because we all know Clemson, Miami, or whoever else wants to leave the conference, they're going to fight tooth and nail to do it. But adding Cal brings financial benefit, but I believe the risks are more than the pros, especially as far as travel goes. Because even when we joined the ACC back then, by the way, I'm old enough to remember the good old days of college football. Okay, Be 35 in a couple of months. So I remember the Miamis of the 2000s. I remember, unfortunately, I remember West Virginia kicking her butt most of my life. So I just don't. For one, I don't. I think Pitt is waiting to see what happens with everyone else to dictate what they're going to do. I think they have a plan. I don't think they're just sitting on their butt waiting for everything to happen, even though they are. I just think they're waiting to see what happens before they make their move. I think they have that already in place because I think Pitt is that Power 5 team left that has more options than most people do. So,
Well, I agree because your academics are so high at Pitt.
oh
Your
yeah,
academics are through the
our
roof.
academics are great. I mean, and that's the one thing I am proud of being a Pitt fan because, and fire trucks are going to go past my house pretty soon, so I do apologize, everybody.
Oh, okay.
Hold on one second.
Can't believe life goes on outside of in Pittsburgh. I can't believe I hear a siren in Pittsburgh. What's going on at sirens in Pittsburgh?
I actually do not live in Pittsburgh. I actually live 45 minutes outside of the city. It would take me almost the same time to get to the city as it would to get to Morgantown. That's how far east I am.
Yeah.
So I border 3 different counties here. So I'm that far. But back to the subject at hand. What I don't understand is even if Florida State and Clemson leave, don't they still have to pay the ACC a part of their TV rights deal? Even if they come to a conclusion?
As it sits right now, yes.
So that's what doesn't make sense to me. And like you said earlier, Slim Shady Canes, that's what I also think Pitt's doing. I think they're trying to be that big fish in a little pond because, I mean, we've already done, and don't take this the wrong way, Slim Shady Canes, we've already won the ACC. We've already been to the ACC championship twice. So I think that's what they're using as momentum to be that big fish in a small pond. However, I do think if the ACC does fall, they'll have somewhere to go. I don't think they're in trouble as much as a lot of people just want to put it out there to be. I think that's an over exaggeration as far as Pitt's situation. I think they've done enough to find a home.
So Slim and Talk, I have a question. Who are, I'm going to go through the teams I think in the ACC are just not going to cut the mustard, and they're going to be looking for a chair to sit on when the musical chair stops, okay? I'll go through my list. Syracuse, not going to have a home. Yay or nay? Slim?
No.
I mean, that can depend. If Syracuse can build up their stock over the next few years, it depends on the timeline of things happening.
Yeah, that's a good answer. But let's just go by if the shit hits the fan in June. We'll just use that as a timeline. I'd say no as of right now.
Yeah, as of no right now.
Boston College.
No.
Let's talk about let's go to Wake Forest.
I think they'll have a home in the Big 12 just mainly because of basketball.
Yeah,
that's a possibility. Wake Forest is. It's a possibility. I'm leaning. We'll call it 60-40 no.
The reason I say no, and I don't mean to cut in Talk as Pitt, but they're such a small. They're such a small school, small alumni base, and just by the criteria that I had seen in the past that they're using to select Big 12 schools, UCF was selected because of their huge enrollment. So with that, I'm going to give them a no. But go ahead, Talk.
I would say the same, although I could see it going both, but I more see it being a no because I just don't. What have they done? The last time they were good, who'd they get beat by in the ACC championship? And badly, by the way.
Yeah, by Pitt.
Us. So, I mean, they would have to do what Syracuse would have to do. They'd have to build their brand. Forget how small the school is, forget how small the alumni base or even the fan base is, actually. They have to do what Syracuse is doing, and that's grabbing quality players from the transfer portal. I mean, because they got, what's his name?
But that's
McCord?
exactly what Dave Clawson's been doing for the past 5 years.
But they haven't really done much with it, though. That's the thing. They've had one good year in 5 years. We've had more
Well,
good years in 5 years
well,
than they
no,
have,
they've
and we
they've had a
suck.
couple. I mean, Dave Clawson's definitely made a name for himself over the past 5 years. That's why he was
I mean,
contacted for several high-profile jobs the last few off
yeah,
seasons.
true.
Duke has been good
I
too.
just don't think they've done enough. I'm not. I think I could cut them some slack and say he has made a name for himself, but has he made the name he should have for himself?
But
I mean,
okay,
because I don't think they've won.
had a little burp
They
in the
haven't
internet.
won the ACC since the beginning, right? Since the beginning of the ACC, Wake
They were
Forest hasn't won it since.
from 57. They're one of the
Yeah,
OG. Yeah.
yeah. They were one of the OG conference founders, and they haven't won it since the start. So
Slim,
they need to win it again.
what do you think about Duke?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
Duke's a big enough brand.
just because of basketball. Just because of basketball.
Joey?
Yeah, I think Duke's fine. I think Duke
will make it.
gonna have
Duke
a
will
home.
be a good brand. But
I think
Yeah.
Duke has a good chance even to get in the Big Ten with their basketball program.
they're not an SEC school. They're a Big Ten school.
They're a Big Ten school, right? I think they'd have a better chance in the Big Ten. But I can see them in the Big 12 too. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
think
think
they
they
have a
have
home.
both Big 10 and 12
I tell you
swagger.
one thing that I worry about, and this is me because I'm a traditionalist. I love the Miami of old, right? I loved when they were winning and stuff, and we were playing them and things. But the problem is, and I'm sure Slim Shady will agree with me, Miami's not done anything for a very long time. And the new people my age understand Miami's a powerful program and a very, stout program. And all of us understand that. But the kids that are growing up today that are 16, 17 years old, they haven't seen that Miami. They don't know that Miami. And
Yeah.
that worries me about Miami staying in that power. You guys need a really good year this year. Now, I think you've got the team for it, but I don't know. If I had to predict your record right now, it'd probably be like 7-5 or 8-4.
Out of
And
all
I'm
the
hoping.
teams in the ACC, I think Miami, if they hit that switch and they get hot, they have a rabid fan base. You know, just like when the Heat is when the NBA when the Heat's playing well, that those tickets are hot and they're expensive. So guys, that is the brand that if it catches fire, it doesn't just catch fire, it explodes. So
It does. And the hole Miami's been is a hole they've dug themselves. But that being said,
So
they're
they're
what's the right way to put this? This may be a hot take to some. That's a national brand, regardless of their record.
no, it is. It is. There's no, here's the way I look at national brand. Have you been to national championships? Have you, and they've won. They have arguably one of the top teams of all time, I think, is that team from 23 years ago. So, in all seriousness, The Rock is an alum, Warren Sapp. I mean, you have, it has a fan base that is there. The brand is there. It's just a matter of the consistency the past few years. I think it's partially the ACC's fault. That they're in the situation they're in because they negotiated a crap deal. There was an opening there last year. They could have probably renegotiated like the Big 12 did, and it's unfortunate. So the Pac-12 also is another one of those. They're even more guilty. And see what happened. There's only 2 teams in that conference now. But
well, I don't think the ACC's deal is as crap as a lot of people make it out to be. Like, a lot of people focus on that $30 million a year number. I think the thing that a lot of people miss is that's a minimum. Like, that's not what every ACT team got paid out last year. Like, I think the SEC was around 50, 55 million last year per team, if I'm not mistaken. The ACC was at almost 43. So that gap there is not as big as people try and make it out to be.
I don't think I've ever seen Pitt make less than 35 a year million. I don't think I've ever seen it.
I don't know what the payout was in Big 12 in 2023. I don't know that it's been announced yet, but 2022 was 51 million, wasn't it?
Yeah, but in three years you're going to have Vanderbilt making 90 million.
Right.
You know.
Well, that's the estimate. Now, that being said, it was estimated too that Notre Dame would get somewhere around $45 million a year or more, and they didn't get anywhere near that. So we can take these estimates with a grain of salt.
Well, they were still a top 5. Notre Dame was still like top 5 in money last year. That even though they don't get a lot, like from television rights, so to speak, but they get a lot of money other way. And so they were one of the top earning programs last year.
Now here's a hot take for you, and this is going to ruffle a few feathers. I think this whole conversation around money is being entirely overblown. Because if money is what dictated a great college football program, well, Texas and Texas A&M would win every national championship forevermore, and nobody should bother trying.
True, very true. But
agreed.
I guess they do, but you have to agree that the rich get richer, right? So Texas and Texas A&M, they keep getting richer. So does Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, right? They all keep getting richer and richer and richer, while teams like West Virginia and Pitt and even Miami are starting to fall behind those teams so much that their facilities are going to be phenomenal. If they keep making $90 million a year, Slim Shady, they're going to be able to do upgrades. And then on top of that, if they do start tying these students in and paying them out of the university funds, well, how's Miami going to keep up with that with ACC money compared to what they're getting in the SEC and Big Ten? There's no way.
Number one, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Because there's when these conversations happen, people like to skate over federal law that's kind of in the way of that.
Well, there's our states that are passing laws to do that now. But the problem is even if you do it, the NCAA's got to pay for play rules.
Well, not even that. If these universities start paying football players, well, then they have to start paying the girls' softball team and the bass fishing team and the golf team, and then the baseball team. And that's why I said there's federal laws in the way of this that people tend to overlook because it shoots a lot of holes in their theory. And the universities have absolutely zero incentive to go along with this. And you talk about somebody that's going to fight tooth and nail against it.
Yeah, and you have the NCAA now, literally in January of 2025. If it goes to trial, they might have to pay. If they lose the case, they could owe the athletes for NIL $4 billion in damages. So an article dropped, 15 minutes before we went on the air, and it said that they might reach a settlement of $2.7 billion. How in the hell is the NCAA going to come up with that kind of money? I don't know.
The NCAA has that money.
Yeah, but I mean, what's it going to do to? I mean, I think it just seems like the NCAA. It seems like the Big Ten and the SEC would love to see them kind of like fold.
Well, yeah, and I've heard that a lot. And here's my problem with that whole theory: is in the context of football, yes, they want to see it, and you might even see it. But here's the problem: the NCAA still runs March Madness and every other sport.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, these conference commissioners, these athletic directors have still got to play nice with the NCAA.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's never going to cease to exist like some people try and make it out to be.
Yeah. I tell you what, we're at a just, it seems like a strange, just 5 years ago. Could you imagine, gentlemen, having this conversation about college sports?
Yeah, I find it troubling, and here's why. Most of us that are big time college football fans are college football fans for a reason, because it's not the NFL.
There's parity.
And I don't know why the people in charge seem to have this push to an NFL style college football.
Right.
And, you know, I don't want to see, I mean, people find it hard to believe, but to your point of how much it's changed, it can change going the opposite direction very quickly too. Just ask NASCAR.
Yeah.
So I know we have a lot of Mountaineer fans in here, and we have Shane in here as well. I want to share a screen with everybody and show something real quick. Let me pull this up. Give me just a second. I'm going to share this, and let me go over here and close that. That. Whoop.
Oh, Coal Rush uniform.
Black uniforms, yes.
We
Fine.
what?
There we go. There is the black uniform.
I heard about those.
I told you.
So
Yeah.
here's the video. Here's the video on it.
Like I said.
We'll turn the volume off so that we don't get copyright on it. But this is the reveal. They just revealed the black uniforms.
That's the color I told you. Navy blue with the gold around it.
Yeah. I'm going to say these. So this is for I guess the Penn State game.
Yeah.
Penn State, their little whiteout trick to us last year, so we're doing the black. The Coal Rush. And this was actually just an idea that somebody tweeted about one day, just a fan. And it kind of picked up steam and headway, and everybody started pushing for it. And it looks like OVU has answered everybody. And there it is.
Well,
I'll say this: it does kind of wear thin quick. Miami's done now 3 different blackout uniforms, and I wish they would stop.
Yeah.
I like the originals. You know, if you had kept those around for a game every year, okay. But this thing with I'm not trying to catch up to Oregon. Like, okay, your first 3 dozen was okay. It's kind of cool. It's kind of quirky, and now that you're up to 376,000 different uniforms, yeah, it's worth in.
I agree. This is the first time West Virginia's ever had a black uniform. We had a gray one, and I didn't like it.
But I think the black is fitting because it's the coal industry. You know, the other one said country road that had I-79. That's not a country road, Slim. I-79 goes through Pennsylvania, through West Virginia. It just doesn't make any damn sense. So
I'm familiar with it. I'm a truck driver.
Yeah, so you know 79. I live off of 79 in the middle of Pennsylvania. So why is I-79 a country road? It's not. It's a nightmare. So the coal thing hits home for me. I'm from Western Pennsylvania. It's coal country. And you know what? I love the fact that they tied that in. And Monday, I said, hey, the gold uniform and the navy blue uniform say Mountaineers. The white uniform says West Virginia. I think a black one's going to say West Virginia. And sure enough, this is what happened. I said coal. I said they should tie it to coal. And God bless them for listening to, you know, the sun shines on a dog's ass once in a while.
Yeah.
D-Rock Irish says Texas Tech administration indicating without potential NIL lawsuit agreement, it will have to increase their athletic budget $15 million a year.
Yeah, and see, that's part of the reason where I think Miami's going to be fine, because I do, some people know this, some people don't. For the first time, literally ever in the history of the University of Miami, they're actually putting money into the football program.
That's great.
Like that's kind of been their one of their under the radar things is the football program, despite the success it had, was kind of the redheaded stepchild at Miami. And like part of the reason you said the ACC was part of the reason for Miami's downfall. No, that squarely rests on the shoulders of one Donna Shalala, who, thank God, is no longer there and is now in Congress, I think.
Now, Slim, let me ask you a question real quick. They, I know that the biggest hot seat this year is Dave Aranda, without a doubt, at Baylor. But how about Mario Cristobal? How hot is his seat right now?
Not even warm.
Okay.
At least as far as the school goes.
I know he's getting a lot of talent, but it's not showing on the field right now. Do you think this year could be the year? Because last year, I think a lot of people were saying Miami's going to do well, and you said Miami's not going to do good at all, and you were right. So how about this year?
Well, I've made a prediction I have never made before. Miami's winning the conference this year.
Oh, wow.
That's what college football needs, Slim.
With the addition of Cam Ward, Damian Martinez, Sam Brown, as well as Jacoby George and Xavier Restrepo coming back, that may be the best offense in the conference.
Yeah, I think the ACC and Big 12 are both really strong this year. You know, I think there's 5 or 6 teams in the ACC that could win the ACC, and I think there's probably 6 or 7 teams in the Big 12 that could win the Big 12. So I think they might be 2 conferences to watch this year, really, without a doubt.
I don't disagree with that. I really don't. I mean, because I've been, to your point, I've been right on Miami the last 2 years.
Yeah,
just kind of the way it goes, and because I'm more critical on my own team than probably anybody. If old Cade Clubfoot can get his act together and act like he's played quarterback before, that's about the only thing holding Clemson back. If Virginia Tech can keep their momentum going from last season, they're returning 92% of their starters from last year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a team that won, 7 of their last 9 or something like that?
Well, Simply, you say that you're critical. That's why I bring you in and Talkers Pit in. You two are logical fans, right?
You're not smoking.
Right.
Yeah.
No. Now we're going to have a Georgia Tech guy join us in a minute, and you have a really hard time finding a non-delusional Georgia Tech fan. But
that's kind of like finding a unicorn.
Yeah, but you can find a Miami and Pitt fan that is not delusional. But I know you, Slim Shady Canes. If you say Miami going to win the conference this year, I trust you. I really do, because, like I say, the last 2 years you've been dead on about Miami, and last year you were dead on, and everybody else was wrong. I think even Uncle Lou had you guys going 9-3, didn't he?
And nothing
something like that, yeah.
Down the train of conference dismemberment than laying a Miami on the tracks at 10-0 with a couple weeks left in the season. That'll slow the train down to a crawl, guys. That's great.
Absolutely. I mean, to that point, and I called this in 2017 when it was happening. I said Miami was a half a football team because they were number 1 in the country in forcing turnovers, and they were dead last in points off of it. I said that's a half a team being carried by a defense on a hot streak with turnovers, and look what happened to them. They shot up to number 2 in the country at 9-0, 10-0.
Yeah, it doesn't take long for and this you can take this as a backhanded compliment, Slim. You ready?
Sure.
The freaking the journalists love to blow sunshine up the skirts of the pollsters when the Miami Hurricanes are playing good. Just want to say that.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with you at all. I'm not going to mention his name, but I mean, everybody knows a certain ex-president. media love to talk about him, and because they dislike him. And a lot of media members, a lot of college football talking heads, a lot of college football talking fans dislike Miami when they're good.
But at least they're talking about them.
Exactly.
You know.
You know what I'm going to see? I'm going to see Miami. I'm going to see Miami go 13-0, and then I want to see them finish like being picked first or second in the country after Florida State got snubbed last year, didn't make it in the top 4. I want to see Miami get first or second because that will improve your stock, and that'll improve the ACC stock, and it might save the ACC if Miami can win a conference and then go into the playoffs.
ACC or Big 12 go into the playoffs and roll a couple power conferences. You know, like
I don't know about anybody else. I don't want to see the ACC fail. I don't want to see it fall apart. As much as I want to play Pitt every year and play Miami, I don't want to see that.
No, I don't want to see that.
What? No, I don't. I'm with y'all. I don't want to see 2 conferences in football like the NFL. But you know, probably something that could have saved all this if they would have, for lack of a better term, manned up and played tougher non-con schedules. I've been saying it for the better part of 20 years. If I had my way, there wouldn't be an FCS team on Miami's schedule ever.
See, that's how it is.
I said the same thing a couple years ago.
Yeah, go ahead.
I said the same thing about Pitt because every time we play an FCS team, at least once every 10 years, we blow it. 2010, Youngstown State. 2021, Western Michigan. So, you know, it's not something I like. Whenever we schedule Power 5 teams non-conference, more Power 5 teams than FCS schools, we tend to have a good year. Like 2021, even though we lost to Western Michigan, we had a great year that year. You know, did something we haven't done since before I was born. So it seems like when Pitt schedules teams that they have no business playing, you better expect that they're going to do a lot better than what people think they are. And that's exactly how I think going in this year. Pat Narduzzi finally came to his senses, you know, got his head out of his ass, stopped hiring dinosaurs, fired all the dinosaurs, every single one of them, and hired Cade Bell from, yes, this is an FCS school, but Western Carolina. The 4 years he was at Western Carolina, he ran the number 1 offense in the entire FCS. Now, I get it. That's the FCS. You know, competition's not even – you can't compare the competition between FCS and, you know, the football that we all are used to seeing. But it's not even about that. It's about that we finally have a quarterback. We finally have an OC who's competent in calling plays. And then the amount of defensive transfers we got, we have 4 4-star defensive tackles coming in from the freshman class. And then the amount of defensive transfers we got out of the portal, it's just, if Pitt's going to win the conference again, I honestly believe this year, neither Florida State or Clemson are playing in the ACC title game. I do believe it will come down to Pitt and Miami. I do. Because even you, Joey, have told me before multiple times, look at Pitt's schedule. If they don't go 10-2, it's a failure.
Oh, yeah.
It's easy. Easy. And I mean, I don't think I've ever seen an easier schedule for Pitt since I've been a college football fan, which hasn't been long. It's only been 11 years since I've actually been a true college football fan because I've always been an NFL guy. Never paid attention to college football. Too much. Too much BS.
Even your tough out of conference game is West Virginia, and you get them at home. So, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So,
not likely. I don't think that you guys will beat West Virginia this year, but still.
Well, we're in the same boat you guys are.
Yeah,
we return the same amount of starters you guys do, literally on offense and defense. Even with what we lost in the portal, defensively, we still return the same amount of starters. Here's what I'll say,
Joey. There's a lot of starting a lot of starters returning to a lot of teams this year. West Virginia returning 91% of their production from last year, right? Miami returning a lot. Pitt returning a lot. But you look over in
Yeah.
the Big 12, well, Oklahoma State didn't lose anybody. Kansas State didn't lose anybody. Kansas didn't lose anybody. I mean, and these are all teams that won 8, 9, 10 games last year.
Oh,
So,
exactly.
and West Virginia, won 9 games last year, and now here we are returning everybody. It's ought to be a really good season to watch football in the ACC and Big
It's going to
12.
be a
That's all I
fight.
got to say.
Backyard brawl is going to be a fight. It's not. I'll give you guys the credit for winning last year because I have to. You guys won the game fair and square. It wasn't dirty, or anything like that. There wasn't any fights. Everybody just played football. That's how I wanted it. But that was the most boring backyard brawl I ever watched in my life.
Well,
That
see,
was boring.
I completely disagree with that. I'm an old school football fan, and as well as Miami, I'm a Tampa Bay fan, and both of those teams cut their teeth on defense. I love a good defensive slugfest.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be a dogfight defensively. I mean, I'm not saying we've already announced all our starters, but all the defensive transfers that we got are pretty much solidified as starters. Nate Matlack from Kansas State, he will be our starting defensive end. And let's see, Nick James, defensive tackle from Indiana, he's secured that starting spot. So, and then Eli Holstein, I'm pretty sure will probably end up taking Nate Darnell's starting quarterback spot. He is just that good. I mean, he was practically a 5-star before when he went to Alabama.
Wow.
I know
He's
that
just that
there's a lot
good.
of I know a lot of West Virginia fans and a lot of just fans around college football right now are saying, "Boy, West Virginia's losing a lot of people right now." We're supposed to.
Everybody is. Who isn't?
We were over on scholarships. I mean, we had 88
But
scholarships.
who
We only allowed
isn't losing
85.
people,
So,
Joey?
right.
Who
Yeah,
isn't
I
losing?
heard
I mean,
I heard a lot of that on Twitter too, from Florida fans especially. But we were in a very similar boat before the spring portal window. We were at 92 scholarship players, so we had a minimum of 7 that had to go,
Right.
plus any upgrades that you're trying to make.
Right. Exactly.
yeah.
And that's the good thing about West Virginia is if you look at the grade level of the departing players we lost on defense, I think the grade level was 6.5. But the grade level that we brought in of the transfer portal to replace those is like 8.7.
Yeah.
So
The same here with Pitt.
we improved.
Yeah, same
Yeah,
here
and
with
the
Pitt.
thing I looked at especially was all the guys we had leave. Only 2 of them are guys Mario's recruited since he's been there, with the exception of the very first class that he salvages when he comes in. But I tend to not really
Yeah.
count that for anybody.
Yeah.
It is. It's hard to
Let me do
predict your
something real
team.
quick, guys. Let me do something real quick because I always do this, and I haven't done this show. I'm going to give a big shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you guys for coming in. We got Timothy Green. Appreciate you being here, Timothy, as always. John Dry. John, I haven't seen John Dry in a long time, but appreciate you being here. Jackson Johnson's always with us. First off, Pitt is here. Kelly McCord is with us. Appreciate you. UC Fez, haven't seen you in a long time either. He says, salutations, been a long time, Joey. It has been a long time. Nice to see you in here. So without
UCF.
further, find somebody else here. LW, appreciate LW dropping in. Of course, the vet dropped in with us for a little bit. Mountaineer Lara with Kenny. Kenny's a good friend of the show. Appreciate Kenny being in here as always. Oilers
a lot of
fan
my
comes
same
in.
subscribers.
So Oilers fan, he's an Edmonton Oilers fan. He's a hockey guy. So Edmonton Oilers fan. He's a good guy. I like him. And then Outback Windows come in. Her name is Wendy. She's a good friend of mine. Appreciate her coming in. Frank Taco, he says Oilers raid. Ty Sport coming in. They did a little Oilers raid on us. Appreciate all of them coming in though, giving us a thumbs up and a like. D-Rock Irish is in here. Appreciate you as always. D-Rock Irish being in here. Going out there, Julian Smith. Appreciate you being here. He says Big 12 will go after these ACC schools, Miami, Louisville, and Pitt. Do not disagree one bit with those. I also think that NC State get in. Jeff Morgan, he says it's bigger every year. I appreciate you, Jeff Morgan, being here. Good enough to see if there's anybody else that I've missed. If I missed you, I really apologize because there's a lot of you coming in and out, and you're here and you're somewhere else and you're here. And plus, some of you are on this channel, on the West Virginia channel. Some of you are on the Big 12 channel. Some of you are listening elsewhere. Appreciate wherever you're listening at and watching. We appreciate you being here. All right, back to the show. Sorry about that, guys.
I
Wanted
had
to
a
get
quick
quick
you're
setup.
fine.
voice, Joey, and here's if you were the Big 12, okay, I want you to, other than Clemson and Florida State, other than your own program, what's the most valuable program? Slim first. I'll let you go first.
If you're the Big 12 trying to go after somebody, I mean, just starting with brand recognition, Miami and North Carolina have got to be the two biggest brands sitting in the ACC if Clemson and Florida State are going.
There's not
Yeah,
that marquee brand in the Big 12. We don't have a marquee brand, and I think that's something that Miami could bring that Oklahoma or Texas swag back, right? A team that's won a lot of national championships that is close to being. I mean, they're not a blue blood, but they're close to being a really blue blood. In my book, they're real close to being a blue blood. But in my book, so is Pitt.
Yeah.
Because Pitt won a lot of national
it's
championships.
more of a blue blood than Michigan because it's had more national championships in the past 40 years than Michigan.
Well, yeah, Michigan's
I
only
mean,
won
come on
two.
now.
I mean, all time, I would still put us probably in that tier just below. Because honestly, until the mid-late 70s, I mean, it is what it is. Miami was a punching bag.
So is Florida
I mean,
State.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, until Bobby Bowden got there and got things rolling. Now, I think this is why I have a lot of respect for Florida State because I think they were essential in making each other, in my opinion.
Yeah, that you guys propped each other up. The hype. I remember sitting in my room and in the 80s and 90s and watching Wide Right and watching those games and being a Florida State fan as a kid and being a Miami Hurricane fan because that year before that they got beat and I'm like, wow, these guys are looking good. That was what college football was to me. I'm going to give you my answer, then I'm going to ask Talkus Pitt. I think North Carolina, I think Louisville is a very, very attainable brand that the Big 12 should jump on because they're a great basketball school. They make money in basketball and they make money in football. But go ahead, Talkus Pitt.
In order for me to even put Pitt in the conversation of being a blue blood again, and I only say again because whether people like it or not, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and even before that time frame, they were a blue blood. Matter of fact, ever since their inception, their football team was a blue blood. If you're just going off of the times then, in the middle up to now, Pitt was a blue blood. However, for the past 40 years, they haven't lived up to that hype. They've sort of gotten close a couple of times every now and again. But in order for me to put Pitt back in that conversation, they have to do something they've never done, or they haven't done even since before my mom was born. That's win a New Year's Six Bowl. They have to do it. They have to win a New Year's Six Bowl, and then once they do that, they have to bring in a national title. Then and only then will I allow Pitt to be considered a blue blood because I don't think they've earned it. I just don't. However, if you're talking about just brand, period, I still think they've done enough to be considered a top brand, not a blue blood brand, a top brand.
I'm just someone the Big 12 needs to put on the top.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Pitt honestly should be top three.
Can't pick your own program, just like you can't pick.
Well, I mean, honestly, you guys already took my two answers in the beginning anyway. And so I don't like North Carolina and Louisville. I think North Carolina, Louisville are the two biggest brands outside of, the obvious answers, Miami and Clemson, that the Big 12 should look at. but I still think you really should put Pitt up there in consideration. I still think they're at least top 5. Normally, I would have kept them out of the conversation.
So Frank Paco says
I
Frank
still
lives
do.
in Oregon and is a Duck fan, but loves your show. Thanks, Joey. Frank,
Hey,
thank you for being here. Seeing you in here last week, I really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Love
Frank.
having Oregon fans in here, man, all the way across the country. Jim Moore says Miami definitely has college football brand. That was a good take. Todd Gwynn says would love to see Florida State, Miami, and Clemson would really give the Big 12 clout. Now that's
Yeah.
that's probably never going to happen. But you're right. That would. I mean, could you imagine Florida State, Miami, Clemson, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, TCU in the same conference? I mean that would elevate us to a good Power
Do you
3,
think
right?
they'll just stop at those 3 schools, though? I mean, I think I think they would add a fourth, at least a fourth, in which I think it would be. I think it would be us.
I think it would be Louisville. I think if that happened, if Florida
Well,
State,
I
Miami, and
mean,
Clemson came, it'd probably be Louisville.
yeah, but I think in order to protect the backyard brawl, because just think, if the ACC falls, there's a good chance we may never play each other again.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I'm worried about. If the backyard brawl goes away, Joey and Shane, what's the point? Because that's how Pitt fans felt. Once the backyard brawl went away, what was the point?
I know, and I think it hurt both schools not having that rivalry because since we've renewed that
We
rivalry,
don't
you've won the
have an
ACC.
ACC rival.
Right, but since we renewed that rivalry and started playing again, you guys have won the ACC and also playing better now than you was in the past. And West Virginia, let's face it, is playing better now than they have been.
Yeah,
I love this rivalry. I love it being back on. Now,
I
this year is the
think
last year for a couple of years, but it'll
I
be back
think
around.
Pitt. I could be wrong. I think Pitt has won 8 games or more in the ACC 6 out of the 10 years they've actually been there, including bowl wins.
And I know we focus on football for obvious reasons, but part of the thing when I say brand name, like I throw Miami up there, and this is why I agree with his take that they could be on the verge of blue blood status, is because Miami's got multiple national titles in football. Miami has multiple national titles in baseball, and just before this last season, they were in the Final Four in basketball.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's really
no question. There's no question in my mind that it's not. I mean, I would take a Miami before I take a Wisconsin. If I were like making a super conference and I had 12 teams to pick, you know what I mean? I'm just telling you.
Now, this brings up a good question that I don't hear a lot of people talk about. If it keeps trending in the direction that it is, some teams are going to end up, for conferences, for lack of a better way of putting it, are going to trim the fat. And that's where I see the possibility of the Georgia Techs and the Vandies of the world getting relegated to Group of 5. What do y'all think of that?
That would be good for West Virginia.
Georgia Tech, honestly, I don't know. I just don't. I mean, Georgia Tech's Georgia Tech. We're just going to say that. I don't see them going to a group of 5 team. Although, if you want to talk about as far as becoming or having better records or better results, that would be better for them. But I don't know.
I don't know if that's possible for Georgia Tech anymore, because let's be honest about this. We saw what just happened with Mike Elko and Duke. If Brent Key wins 7 or 8 games at Georgia Tech this year, somebody is snatching him up in the offseason when somebody gets fired.
You see, that's what we're worried.
In a city like Vanderbilt or Pitt or Georgia Tech, it's just a different flavor. I mean, it's just when you have a town that surrounds a college like Morgantown or Blacksburg or Corvallis or even a Happy Valley, like that the town surrounds that campus, and that campus is literally the only reason that town is there is because of the campus. It's just strange.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, and I mean,
That's
I've got
not how it is
friends.
for us.
I've got friends that have, that are Georgia Tech fans that have attended Georgia Tech, and I mean the support. I mean, as bad as the support, I thought the support was from Miami for football. I mean, you listen to them talking, it's even worse in a place like Georgia Tech. They just, the administration does not care about athletics.
Nope.
No.
And then
I mean,
one
Pitt
more
upgrades
thing I want
facility
to
every 5 years.
one more thing I want to talk about here, and this is because I want to get Shane and Talk with Pitt going. Hey, listen, Mark Rogers and I are going to be going to the Slob Olympics in 2025, and it's the Slob Cruise. And now Mark and I are going to be there. Slim Shady, you're probably going, am I right?
My room is already paid for, sir.
Yeah, that's how I am. Mark and I got in there the other day and got us a balcony and a balcony suite. So I was real happy about that. But we want everybody to go, and so the Slob Olympic Cruise 2025 is March 7th to the 10th from Port Canaveral, Florida. If you go to carnival.com, screenshot this right here. All you got to do is follow these steps, and you can book a room right now for like $25. You can reserve your room for $25
a person. Yeah.
Per person, and it's based on double occupancy. So when you call, have your roommate. If you're not married, or if your wife can't go, or your husband can't go, have a roommate to go with you. But you got to book for 2 people. $20 per person. Reserve it, and you got till December 15th to pay it off. And guess what? It's only like $400. Like $400 is all it is.
Well,
so
the problem, Joey, is the Slob Olympics falls right on my daughter's birthday, so I can't make it. I will most likely never be able to make a Slob Olympics.
Well, see, it falls right on my birthday too, so it's perfect.
Yeah, well, my daughter's the only thing that is great in my life right now. So I mean, and she doesn't live in Pennsylvania either. She lives in Virginia. So because of that, if it was in PA, I'd say let's do it. But because I have to already travel out of state to begin with, then I just financially don't have that kind of money to make 2 trips like that. And I hate flying.
And listen, for those that worry about it, I bring my wife and my kids to this event basically every year.
Yeah.
Now my wife's coming this year. The kids are not. Well, we haven't had a weekend away from the kids in about 7 years, so it seems like a hell of a time to go ahead and do that.
What is the Slob Olympics, gentlemen? For people that don't know.
Basically, it's an excuse for a whole bunch of YouTubers and fans on YouTube to get together and act a goat.
Yeah, man, we have a good time because everybody dresses up and just has fun. Just dress up.
Yeah, I literally dressed up as Miami's mascot year before last.
If I can get over my fear of flying, then maybe, and only maybe, will I come down, because then I could take a flight from Florida to Newport News, Virginia, and I'll be okay.
Oh yeah.
Hey, listen, I gotta get off the no-fly list just to fly down there.
Yeah, I know it. I know it.
I've never flown before. It's not that I can't fly. I'm not a heights person, which is why I don't get on roller coasters.
It's like jumping out of a helicopter compared to jumping out of an airplane. Even though it's not logical. One's easier than the other. So you'll be fine. Talk is Pitt.
Like I've jumped out, like my fat butt jumped out of a helicopter before.
There's another good thing too that's going on. I'm gonna let everybody know about this one and screenshot this one. I bring it up. This one is called Hog Fest 2024. Now this one's coming up July 18th to the 21st this year, Robbinsville, North Carolina. Hoghead. I think most of you know who Hoghead is. He comes into Boys College football sometimes, but Hoghead. He owns this property there, and he's got cabins on it, and they're beautiful. I mean, absolutely gorgeous. You've got to come to this. And so there's an email address on here, right there. There's an email address right in the middle of this. So be sure you screenshot that.
Man.
Email them and let them know you'd like to come. and get you a room reserved. It's not that much. I promise you guys, it's not that much. This is a cheap trip. This is gonna be a fun trip.
There's
You know, go down there and
But
pitch you a tent if you want to. Bring a
I
tent with
have
you.
something planned for that time already.
To answer his question in a little more depth, though, I mean, I say we get together and act the fool for the Slob Olympics. I mean, yes, it's an excuse for us to get together and hang out and have a good time and all that. But we actually do, and the events change from year to year. But we do somewhere between 5 and 10 events. We've done 40-yard dash. We've done, how many push-ups can you do in 60 seconds? One year we did an IQ test.
5.
Trivia. And we haven't settled it out entirely for this year. We're thinking about, because there's several activities to do on the boat, incorporating that stuff. But like I said, somewhere between 5 or 10 events, and whoever has the most points at the end wins. And we have, much like the Stanley Cup, a traveling trophy. And you get to carry that trophy around for a year, get your name engraved on it, and go down in infamy. And
That's
actually, we just
that would be.
I'm sure Joey knows this, but just this past year, we actually renamed the trophy to the Golden Blue Dude Memorial Trophy.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So,
Yeah,
Joey's
I was
gonna
about to
come
bring
the-
that up too.
Right, so Joey's coming to Slob Olympics, and Big Dog Brett has the trophy right now. But Joey's going to come down and win this year at the Slob Olympics, and Joey's going to
He's
get
a
that
Georgia
trophy
fan,
in
isn't
honor
he?
of Golden Blue Dude. We're going to bring that
He's
trophy
a
back
Georgia
to West
fan,
Virginia for
right?
Golden Blue Dude.
Yeah, he's actually won it twice.
Yeah, he won his first year, Golden Blue Dude second, and he won it third.
I have a local thing you can do in June.
Yeah.
If you have your daughter, you can bring her up. How far are you from Indiana, PA?
Know where it is, been there multiple times. I would say about an hour and a half.
An hour and a half?
45 minutes.
I'd say
Yeah,
40.
hour and a half, 45 minutes. I don't think people realize how far east I am. I'm literally 15 minutes from Washington County.
Oh, you're not that. I'm in Butler. You can get to Indiana County in about an hour. But there is APWF Wrestling. They have some big time talent coming in June 23rd. It's going to be a Sunday, and $15 gets you in the door and get you a seat, and you get to see 9 matches. So
I am a big wrestling fan. I do have the Undertaker tattooed on my arm.
There you go. You'll get to see some.
Out of all the dumb tattoos, that's the dumb one.
Champ, you get to see an NXT champ wrestle. You get to see some guys.
I go to wrestling. I go to wrestling events literally right around the corner. There's a company called PWX, and I live in the same town. They're not funded, but they're based out of.
Oh yeah.
So I go to their events a lot. Yeah, I almost became a wrestler. I wrestled in high school, and I almost became a wrestler, and then I had a kid.
Now I'm gonna make a statement here. Now Kenny's a good friend of mine, but I got to answer this quick statement right here. He says, "Sorry, if God intended me to fly, He would have given me wings." Well, if God would have intended me to watch YouTube, He would have given me the internet when I was born, and it wasn't. So I would have been born with internet.
I would love to go to the Slob Olympics and meet everybody and whatnot, and especially take the trophy from Big Dog Brett. And it would be funny for the next name on the Golden Blue Dude Memorial Trophy to be mine. I think Golden Blue Dude, I think he'd love it, because me and him were close, like very close, like how me and close Joey are. Like phone number close. He knows the name of my kids close. So I think he would love it. I think he would smile while yelling, "Eat shit, pit."
Yeah.
And if he didn't, I'd be offended.
I went in to talk with Pip was live today, and I went in his room and started cussing him out in French. I was in there typing in French, "Eat shit, pit." He didn't know what the hell I was saying.
Oh, I knew what you were saying. First of all, I know how to speak a little bit of French, and of course, every word I know is bad. So, I knew what you were saying. I knew you were saying shit, and that was just. I mean, come on, I'm not dumb. I knew what you were saying once I read the word shit in there. Uh, so I mean, and that's what I love. That's what I love about a lot of West Virginia fans is. I mean, I get along more with them than I do with my own fan base because my own fan base is stupid.
Well,
No
guys, we've had a
disrespect
great
towards.
show. It doesn't look like Sea Dog's gonna make it in. He might be stuck at work. He had to work late. He told me, and he would try to get in here with us,
Oh,
but
it was
doesn't
Sea
look like
Dog.
he'll
I
make
was
it in tonight.
hoping it was.
We'll have him back. We'll have all of you back again, because I'm sure this isn't over. I mean, there's
No.
going to be some breaking news come
No.
out in the next couple of weeks about something.
Right.
We'll all come back here and meet again and see what's going on. But Slim Shady, tell everybody where to find you at, and uh, tell us what's going on with in your end of the world there.
Uh, Not a whole lot going on. Same old, same old. I occasionally pop out a pointless rambling video, but you can find me in a lot of these comment sections and a lot of videos like this, just giving my 2 cents all over YouTube, all over Twitter. Same name on Twitter, easy to find me anywhere.
Sure is. Slim Shady's a good guy. You guys, if you get to come to Slob Olympics, you'll enjoy meeting Slim Shady. He'll probably have a cape on. Falcus
I
Pit,
might.
man. Tell everybody where to find you.
So you guys can find me on Twitter and YouTube and Instagram on the same by the same name. However, if you find me on Instagram, be lucky. It might take 9 months for me to respond to you because I'm not on Instagram. But you can find me on YouTube and Twitter mostly. I'm just now starting to get my YouTube channel back up and going after the passing of GBD and the Wolf Man. So you can find me on there tomorrow. I will be live to discuss around 2:30 Eastern Standard Time to discuss a little bit of this and also some transfer portal news because Pitt just the other day received a Kentucky football transfer for this year. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that and, you know, being the legacy of Kentucky players who have transferred to Pitt and done well, MJ Devonshire, I'm excited for this year. So, yeah, that's where you'll find me tomorrow, 2:30 p.m.
Well, appreciate you guys being here with us tonight. And Shane, do you have anything going on your Pittsburgh channel over there with Buddy?
Yeah, Wednesdays. The Steelers Dynasty Plot podcast at 9:00 with Big Bubba Brewer. He's the one who owns APWF Wrestling. And we talk about, and we'll have you on, Slim, when I don't think Tampa's on the schedule this year, but when they do
I
come
don't think so.
we'll have you on. So usually we just talk a little bit about football and just a lot about stupid other stuff. But and then Joey. I'm the Wendy to his Peter Pan. So
Shane's always here with us. We do shows Monday, Thursday, and Friday, and then on Tuesday we upload videos. We did a show last Saturday. Talk to Pit. What's wrong?
No, Shane just used an analogy. Was just weird.
Yeah, he started imagining him in that yellow dress.
I wanted to make you smoke.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. Every time somebody says something weird or disgusting, I imagine it happening, and that's what's wrong with me.
It's not anything like that. It's like he is the imaginary.
Oh, dude, my mind was already there the second you said it.
And I'm just here, he just.
I'm over there.
He's imagining you in that yellow dress and Joey in green spandex.
Dude, that is exactly what I was thinking.
You don't want to see that. You don't want to see that ugly shit, man. You don't want to see that shit. Paxton says, Slim, you look like you can play linebacker.
Hey, with all the woke stuff going on, it's the opposite. They're casting us in that role.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to go have a beer now.
So,
Jackson to Paxton's point, yeah, I played outside linebacker in high school.
Jackson says, I was thinking more like Rick and Morty. Joey is Rick and Shane is Morty.
There you go.
right,
Believe it or
guys,
not,
I'm
I
gonna,
have
I'm gonna, I'm gonna play a little outro
right
here.
before you go, Joey.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to thank you, Joey, for reaching out to me after my mom had her stroke. Um, that meant a lot to me, and to whoever is going around you or Twitter posing as another person and saying stuff about my mother, knock it off.
Yeah, so somebody's acting like they're Wyatt Milam, who is West Virginia's
Yeah,
big
somebody
offensive
acted like he was Wyatt
lineman.
Mullum reaching out to me about my mother.
Yeah,
And
so
I did research
self-esteem.
and find out that it wasn't him. It was fake. And
Yeah,
that's
so he
not
had
cool.
called me up. He had called me up, and I said, "Well, Wyatt Mullins is a good guy, so maybe it is him reaching out to you." And then he called me today and says it wasn't him. So
Nope,
yeah,
it
stop that,
wasn't
man.
him.
That's not even
That's
funny.
not cool.
This man's mother had a stroke,
Especially
and you know,
that's my mother. She's all I got left
yep, that's
out of
right.
my no, I wasn't happy about that.
Yeah, Paxton
No,
says
that's
that's
sick.
sick.
Yeah, Paxton's right. Hey guys, I
It
want to
is.
thank you guys for coming on. Joey, what do we have going on tomorrow night?
We're gonna do the Friday night show, Mountaineers Live right here. Just gonna be me and Shane tomorrow night. I might reach out to Eugene Napoleon, see if he'd like to come back on with us. He was on with us last night, as you know.
Yep.
But Eugene's usually busy on Friday nights. But I'll reach out to him.
Okay.
Just hadn't planned on doing a big show tomorrow night, but Shane and I always have a big show. We have a good time. So we'll talk some Mountaineer football, straight Mountaineers tomorrow night. We'll
Yeah,
talk about transfer portal and everything else. All right, guys. Appreciate y'all being here, and I'll play a little outro here. And everyone have a great night. Appreciate you very much.